Welcome to the Jumpin Gilly podcast with your hosts, Will Nilgis and Robbie Abood.
It's time! What's up and welcome to the first official episode of the Jumpin Gilly podcast, your new home for all things mixed martial arts. I'm your host, Will Nilgis, a black belt in the knowledge of ball, and with me is a beast from the Middle East, my friend, Robbie Abood. Robbie, my brother, how we doing?
I'm good, Will. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. You know, just prepping for the greatest card of all time, UFC 300. It's fight week. I think since it's such a big of a card, I think we should just dive in right into the predictions for the first fight. First fight of the night's going to be...
Let's get into it, baby.
Oh, yeah. First fight of the night's Figueiredo versus Garbrandt. Who you got? Who you got, man? Holy corny ball. Holy corny. Oh, this is so bad. Oh, we're not podcasting.
Yo, I've never seen you do that ever.
What? Like be like that?
All right, hey, we can edit this part out, by the way.
No, we don't even need to, you know. That's the glory of podcasting, you know. Just
yeah, you're right.
Yapping.
Okay. All right, first fight, my pick. Okay, I'm a little back and forth on this one.
Okay.
Now, Garbrandt is the heavy underdog here, but I do have a good feeling about this fight. He's opening up at plus 285, so I think you get good worth with your money. You know, I think this fight is closer than people are making it out to be. I think Cody is a very hit or miss fighter, but Figueiredo is pretty seasoned. So I think this is going full 3 rounds. I don't think this is going to be stopped.
No, I agree.
And I do think if Cody can control the fight on the ground, and I don't know, it's not going to be a dominant fight in any way whatsoever. But I do think if you want the best value for your buck, you got to go with Cody on this fight. It's the first fight of the night, early prelims. You should not be throwing any kind of big bucks on this, but if you are, it's not the time to play it safe, not in early prelims.
Got you. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you said, you know, if Garbrandt controls it on the ground, because like I don't think this fight's going on the ground at all. I think Figueiredo knows that Garbrandt's a little chinny, has a little chin on him, you know, little soft chin, been knocked out a few times, and like with that, I mean, he's been knocked out. He has 4 KO losses all within the last 4 years. Like, I just think that, you know, Figueiredo outclips Garbrandt by 15% on his strike accuracy, 55% to 40%, with also putting more volume, a little bit more volume on SIGs, just due to the fact that Garbrandt has a little bit of inflation in his Dillashaw fight. So I think that Garbrandt's gonna kind of sneak out, either an easy decision, you know, winning like the first and second rounds before Garbrandt gets a little throws it back to like his little highlight reel, gains a little confidence, knows he needs to get a KO. But I could definitely see a Figueiredo KO and round 1 or 2 just because of Garbrandt's you know, history of chinniness. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely going to be rooting for Garbrandt, strong style alum, you know, Cleveland guy, Ohio guy. But yeah, give me Davison Figueiredo by decision, for the most likely method of victory for me. All right, moving on.
I also think it's crazy.
Oh, my fault.
Oh, wait. No, you're good. I just think it's crazy that this is the first fight on UFC 300. It kind of just goes to show how stacked this card is. This could easily be a main card or maybe co-event, or not main card, main event or co-main event on a fight night. And it's crazy how it's an early prelim fight on UFC 300. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, this would definitely be a main event in the Apex cards. Have you seen the next ones before 301? It's terrible, dude. Especially with pulling out. Like, it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
The past
When's Derek Lewis fighting? That's after 3.
Oh yeah, no, that's
right?
not gonna be for until the summer because he just fought like a few weeks ago against oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that's bad. He did not fight a few weeks ago. Holy, that's Rosenstrike who fought a few weeks ago. That's on me.
Hmm.
That
I think Lewis,
that
he'd be
one.
fighting on May 18th, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
May 18th might be the
okay,
date.
okay. I got you. I got
So
you.
that's just right after 301.
Yeah. No, poor Apex fights. Do you like the Apex?
I think it has its ups and downs. I mean, I think it's cool that you could kind of hear everybody talking and like all the fight sounds are kind of enhanced.
Yeah.
But I do love that crowd atmosphere. And watching the Apex kind of just eliminates that.
Yeah, that's valid. I think that if Dana actually gave Apex like good main cards like he did a few years ago, and like fight nights of like good main cards a few years ago, like he's done that like twice this year, with the Walker and Goliath, and then the Umar card. But it's just like it's just bots. Bots are fucking are fighting, dude. Like it's terrible.
Yeah.
Gamrot, Fio should not be a main event. Rose should not be a main event. It's terrible. Anyway, moving on to Bobby Green and Jim Miller, battle of the old heads. Both debuted in 2009. Green in Strikeforce, Miller in the UFC. So who do you have on this one?
I think it's really cool that they're bringing back Jim Miller for all of the main 100, 200, 300 fights. But I got to go with the heavy favorite, Bobby Green on this one. I mean, I think Jim Miller being on this card is more of an entertainment kind of move more than it is like a good fight kind of move. I think it's going to get the crowd going. I think it's going to give similar vibes to a Robbie Lawler retirement fight. I think it would get the crowd going. It's kind of something to look forward to early on in the night, but I just can't see Jim getting it done. But if he does, that'll be great. But I'm going to go with Bobby on this one. They're both retiring soon, I'd imagine, and I'd hope. But I see this being the last fight for Jim Miller.
What are the odds right now?
Let me check the odds real quick. Hold on. You go, and I'll get back to you on the odds.
All right. So yeah, no, I think Bobby Green and Jim Miller are like pretty much the same caliber of fighter. Not just in age, but also in stats, especially in the last 5 to 7 fights. However, Green has lost his last 3 losses, coming since 2021, have been by KO or TKO. And Miller, his last 5 wins, or out of the last 6 fights, 5 of his last 6 wins have all been by KO win. So I think that Miller's a guy who I hate to say this. This is such a casual take. Okay. This is such a casual defense of why I want to see it. And at the end of the day, I just want to see Jim Miller retire on top, retire with the number by his name, take Bobby Green's 15, get Bobby Green out of the rankings, get Bobby Green out of the UFC. I think that Miller's just gonna, impose his will a little bit more, just grit it out and get it done. I think there's going to be a lot of imposing of the will from both sides, just 2 older guys, 2 gritty guys. I think Jim Miller's going to win by KO though.
That's fair. The odds, Jim Miller's opening up at plus 142. Wow. Bobby Green minus 176. So they have it a little bit swayed for Bobby, but Jim, so they have a bet Jim by KO or TKO or Bobby by points. That's minus 120. So that's probably saying they don't think it's likely that Jim, I mean, when you have those kind of bets, it's usually the thing that's not expected to happen.
Yeah.
That's how it usually goes. So they probably think Jim by points or Bobby by KO, but they're offering you the other 2 just to make it seem like it's a good,
Yeah, no. The only way I can see Bobby Green or getting it done is like, kind of getting Miller down and laying on him. However, because Green does have a 74% takedown defense with a 60% takedown accuracy. However, Jim Miller's BJJ is just it's unmatched for Bobby Green. I mean, Miller's carrying a 12 career submission wins. Like I can't see Green winning unless it's by unless he just catches Miller. But I also don't see Miller's chin going down that much because he's only got 2 KO losses in his entire 14-year career now. Like I think Miller's gonna outpoint him. I think he's gonna out grapple him. And when the few times that it does go to the ground, because like I said, Green has a 74% takedown defense, so it's pretty unlikely that Miller's gonna be able to get Green even in a position to get a submission off. But if it does go to the ground, I see Miller surviving, taking it to the feet, and Green does absorb just a tad more strikes per minute, giving Miller kind of the ratio between strikes landed and strikes absorbed in his favor. So I think Miller's going to outstrike him for most of the rounds and win by decision or knockout. But yeah, that's a toss-up fight. But I mean, plus 140 is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I think that fight should both be in the minus. All right,
Yeah.
Next fight. I mean, this one's in my eyes anyway. It's pretty easy. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez.
Andrade, coming off? She just came off a win against Mackenzie, but before that, she was on a 3-fight losing streak.
Yeah.
I think this is a good way to get back into her groove, back into the momentum. She is the favorite. I don't think it's as close. They think it's a pretty close fight. I don't think it's going to be as close as people think it's going to be. I think my pick is Andrade here.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. Rodriguez coming off a win, KO win, like Andrade's, but similar to Andrade, Rodriguez lost her 2 fights before that in Amanda Lemos and Breno Jandriba. I think this fight is going to go a lot like the Lemos fight for Rodriguez. Just not doing anything, not doing anything on the feet other than just absorbing Lemos and having Lemos just put her power on you and eventually getting the knockout. So I think Andrade is kind of gonna maul Rodriguez, and I don't think this fight's going to the scorecards. I have Andrade by KO.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. All right. So here's an entertaining fight. In Jalen Turner and Money Renato Moicano.
Now this one's interesting. I think there's 2 ways this fight could go. I think if Jalen Turner wins, I think it's going to be early. I think it's either going to be first round, maybe early second round. But we've seen Jalen Turner in the past, especially against Dan Hooker, when it gets to round 2, round 3, really, really get to gas out and kind of get dominated a little bit.
Yeah.
He was able to squeak out the win against Dan Hooker. That was pretty fortunate. But if this goes to the scorecards again, it might not turn out in his favor just because he doesn't really have a gas tank. So I'm going to go with Jalen Turner on this one, and I'm going to go by KO just because I think it's going to be an early one. I don't think he's going to finish it late. It's got to be early.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree on that one. I think Moicano just absorbs too many strikes per minute, and Turner is too accurate with too much volume. I mean, Turner has 6.02 strikes landed on a 48% clip to Moicano's 4.4. I just think Turner is going to be able to put the volume on Moicano, pretty easily, because Moicano only has a 51 or 41% strike defense. Like that's not great. That's not great when you're getting 6 strikes per minute landed on you. But I can see Moicano winning via sub. However, Turner does have a 75% takedown defense and has never been subbed. So I think Moicano's path to victory isn't great. It's not great. Like you're gonna have to hope to get a trip, hope to get, just a drop. Just to drop, do anything to, go to the ground, maybe get his back. But Turner can survive both in the wrestling part and in the jiu-jitsu part of the grappling game. So I think Turner's gonna get a KO in the first or second round just because of the volume he puts on. Yusuf versus Lopez.
I think this is another one of those fights where there's multiple methods, or two methods of victory, really. I think if this goes to the scorecards, I'm gonna go with the younger guy, Yusuf, but I think Lopez is a more experienced, more sound fighter. If it doesn't go to scorecards, I can see him finishing it. But honestly,
this guy got a first round sub against Tucker, Gavin Tucker, and a knockout to chinny Pat Sabatini. I don't see how this guy is getting all the hype he is, other than the fact of his haircut. Remove his haircut, this guy just gets treated like another can in the UFC. Give me Sodiq Yusuf. Give me throw the house down on Sodiq Yusuf. I have him winning by KO. Lopez takes too much damage, doesn't know how to impose his will on the ground. Yusuf can most definitely get it there. All three of his losses coming by decision, so there's a little bit of a gas tank there. But against Barboza, that was a robbery. Come on, that's a win for Yusuf. He only has one loss in the UFC, in my opinion. Give me Yusuf by KO. All right, Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison. What a fight! What a fight we
had. Again, I really think this is another entertainment kind of attention grab UFC 300 fight. I mean, Kayla's coming from the PFL. We haven't seen her much. We haven't seen her at all in the UFC, so we really don't know how to kind of grade her ability in the UFC. But Holly Holm, getting old, right?
43.
Dominant. How many years ago?
Holly Holm.
43. Yeah. So, I think this is just a way. I don't really think this is going to be that good of a fight, to be honest. I think Kayla dominates. I think this is giving me a lot of the MVP Holland kind of vibes. UFC debut. I think she's going to dominate. I don't think necessarily a finish. But yeah, I think she's going to get off her UFC career on the right foot.
Yeah, with Kayla Harrison's obvious Olympic experience in judo, I see this fight basically equivalent to the Bo Nickel Cody Brundage fight, just because it's like the UFC is trying to hype up this prospect by giving her a can in Holly Holm. Holly Holm can sell tickets. She can bring attention to women's MMA, but she's 43. She's lost a lot of fights in recent years. Her last true win, in my opinion, hasn't been since 2020 against Aldana. Like, she's washed. She hasn't fought, or she fought in March, but didn't look too great. Her last good performance was May of 2022. Kayla Harrison is gigantic, absolutely gigantic. Fought in the women's featherweight over at the PFL, competed at 175 in the Olympics in judo. Kayla Harrison's gonna absolutely kill Holly Holm. Again, might not get the finish just because her inexperience in the UFC and striking and stuff. And Holly Holm's the woman's BMF, in my opinion. but I think Harrison's just gonna kind of have a Alexandre Pantoja kind of performance against Roybal. I think she's just kind of good to lay there, spam the takedown, spam the judo throws, and just not give Holm much of a chance to do anything. All right, now it's moving on to one of my most anticipated fights of the night, Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling.
Okay, so this one is I'm a little bit back and forth on. So this is Sterling's first fight in featherweight. We obviously saw the pictures of how he looks now. He's looking ginormous. This is where I'm a little skeptical. So they actually opened up evenly, completely even. There's no favorite, no underdog. But now, a couple weeks later, Sterling's the heavy favorite. And that kind of tells me a couple things. I think the public is really going with Sterling on this one. And that can be a good and a bad thing. I think when he shifts from being even to being a favorite, that kind of tells us that, he's likely to win, but at the same time, the people are wrong sometimes, as they've been in the past. But I'm Sterling on this one just because of past experience with fights that have gone this way. Dricus du Plessis opened up as an underdog and then became a favorite before the fight. Ilia Topuria opened up as an underdog, then shifted to a favorite before the Volk fight. I think this is another one of those scenarios. And I think Sterling is going to win his featherweight debut.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Sterling's gonna win just because of Kattar's lack of fights in recent years. He hasn't won a fight since January in 2022 against Giga Chikadze. Hasn't had a true dominant performance outside of then since May 2020 or 2020 against Jeremy Stevens. So like I think the ring rust is going to get up to him. However, if this fight had Calvin Kattar like 2020 version, 2020 version of Calvin Kattar, I would lean towards Kattar just because of Kattar's 91% takedown defense. I think his takedown defense is extremely legit. His only surrendered takedown was to Zabit, and he only allowed 52 seconds of control, so he got out of that really quickly. Then this is a guy who's been in the ring with guys like Holloway and a bunch of other big grapplers, and he's been able. Well, Holloway's not a grappler, but he's been in the ring with the guys in the wrestling division and the wrestling kind of aspect of MMA. And he's only allowed a singular takedown. He's only surrendered a singular takedown. But I think Sterling is looking like a beast. I think he's got a lot to prove after his loss to Sean O'Malley, which was a rushed fight. So like statistically, I should probably go to Calvin Kattar just because of that defense. But Kattar does also have he absorbs a lot of strikes. Although that is extremely inflated due to the 450 given up to Holloway, he still absorbed 100 plus strikes to Chikadze, Emmett, and Money Moicano. Compared to Sterling's 2.17 strikes absorbed. So I think Sterling's gonna be able to kind of get the distance, go through a few blitzes and then get a takedown, take his back. There we go. I think he's gonna win by sub.
You think he's gonna be a little bit more passive in the pocket now after experiencing TKO from O'Malley?
See, I don't know. See, I would think so, but this is he's fighting a guy in Kattar whose last KO was against Jeremy Stevens in 2020. Like he got absolutely, humiliated against Holloway, got outstruck, by Josh Emmett and Arnold Allen. I just like I can't see Aljo being scared of this guy. I have zero. I would not be able to give you a reason as to why he wouldn't like be extremely aggressive with this guy, because you need to take him down. Or you don't need to take him down. You don't need to take him down. You can just, like Aljo's boxing is good enough to outclass Cater, in my opinion. And especially being up at 145 with, new power. So I don't know. Yuri Rakic. Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. Probably a fight for the next in line at the title shot after Magomed Ankalaev. Who do you have?
Believe it or not, I think this fight has a lot of fight of the night potential written all over it. See, Rakic is coming off a really long layoff from fighting. So we can't really grade him as much as we would like to, because a lot can change in 2 years. Yuri's coming off of a KO win, loss to Poatan. But I don't think this is similar to other KO losses. I think many times when we analyze a fight, we say, oh, this fighter just got KO'd. How is that going to affect them in their next fight? I don't think this KO is going to affect Yuri that much. I don't think it's going to change his style. I don't think it's going to damage him or damage him in the past, I guess. But many people would argue that his last fight was an early stoppage, and that he really wasn't out. But I see Yuri coming back with a little bit of hunger, a little bit of vengeance. He wants to get back in the title picture. And I think he's going to come away with this win. I think it's going to go to decision. Rakic, a lot of his fights have gone to decision.
Oh, you think okay. That's interesting.
So I do think Yuri's going to come away with this win.
Yeah. I think, yeah, give me the Samurai. Give me the Samurai any day. Yuri's 1000% winning this fight. I have him as one of my locks. As we get, towards the end of these predictions and onto the later questions. Yuri's going to be 1000%. He is a lock against Rakic, in my opinion. Rakic, he looks scary, right? He looks the part. But so does Kennedy and Jekbu, This guy, Rakic, so overrated. So overrated. He is extremely mid. I can't see how Yuri Prohaska, the future light heavyweight champion, again, is gonna lose to this guy. Okay. He got knocked out by Jan last time he fought in 2020. And before then, who did he fight? He hasn't fought the guys. He's fought a bunch of cans. And then when he finally got tested in the prime of his career, when he was supposed to be the next big thing in the light heavyweight division, he gets KO'd by Jan Blachowicz. Yuri, this fight's staying on the feet, right? And Yuri's he's gonna outclass him, striking wise. I think I don't hate the take that it's going to go the full way, just because Yuri, the only guy he got KO'd lost to was to Pereira, and Rakic to Jan. But I think if it does go to the scorecards, Yuri is 1000% outstriking him. So I can't see a way Rakic gets it done. I can't. Is that dude, I feel like I'm being so casual with these takes. I'm just kind of saying imposing. I feel like I'm being so casual, but trust it. A lot of research has gone into this. Okay. I'm not expressing it. A lot of research has got into this, Give me Yuri, give me the Samurai. He's gonna retire Rakic, essentially. He's gonna put Rakic in the Paulo Costa kind of conversations. You know what I mean? All right.
We got a little dynamic going on. I'm kind of giving the perspective of a casual viewer who doesn't look into the stats, and then you're giving the perspective of the statistical.
See, I'm trying to. Half of these fights, I'm just saying this guy's gonna impose his will. Sound like casual Lucas Tracy out here, you know what I mean? But on to the main card. First fight of the main card. 10 o'clock to start us off. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Wow. What a terrible fight. Cody Brundage has not skillfully won a fight since 2022 against Tresean Gore, who is no longer in the UFC. Okay. Bo Nickel, like, I know people have said, oh, he's fought cans. Val Woodburn, that fight, extremely underrated for Bo Nickel's resume and kind of his grade as a fighter. Like, Val Woodburn is 1000% a legitimate striker in the UFC. And Bo Nickel outclassed him. You know what I mean? He just did. He outclassed him. I don't think he's gonna try and go with the boxing, or with the with the striking as much in this fight. I think he's gonna go resort back to his what he's used to, and just kind of taking the guy down and submitting him in seconds. I mean, Brundage, this is a guy who's already had a submission loss in his 8 fights in the UFC, with a 4-4 record. I think Bo Nickel is just going to go in another 2-minute performance submission, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of a little annoyed that this is on the main card.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like Bo Nickel, but I just think this fight's not really worth it. Like you said, I think this is ending in under 2 minutes. I don't think it's going to stay on the feet at all. I think the last performance from Bo was kind of a statement saying that he can, stand up with other guys.
Yeah.
And that's why he went for the knockout. But I think if he wants to easily, like you would say, impose his will, he could easily take it to the ground and finish a fight. I saw a post this morning that so he does have very, 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 very much to lose and very little to win. I kind of would want to sleep to this fight, but I'm excited to see the future of Bo Nickel. I want to see him fight against, lower ranked guys and make his way up. But we haven't really seen that yet.
I think Bo Nickel should fight, a guy similar to Joe Pyfer. Obviously not Joe Pyfer, just because they're both upcoming prospects and gonna, both Dana White Contender Series guys, and try to, be the next faces of the middleweight division. But I think he should definitely fight someone on Joe Pyfer's kind of skill set. Until Bo Nickel does that, like, the fans aren't gonna like him just because he's fighting a bunch of cans, and being treated like a boxer, trying to keep his undefeated record. Like, that's just not what MMA is, right? Like, I can't see the fans getting on the Bo Nickel hype train until he actually does something against people that the average fan has heard of.
I agree.
But although, I just don't think Bo Nickel is going to really take many risks with this fight. He's going to get in, sub, get out, go enjoy the rest of the fights, or do whatever he's got to do. Now for in my opinion, the fight of the night, this is going to be the closest fight on the card. It's going to be the most nerve-wracking fight on the card. This is a fight with the most stakes on it. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan.
I'm really excited to see Oliveira again. I mean, we've only seen him for like a total of 2 to 3 rounds in the past 2 years. And those 2 out of those 3 weren't very pretty in this fight against Islam. But I'm excited for this fight, not only just because I think it's a very high skilled fight, but I'm excited because I think this is what the fans care about the most.
Yeah.
If this was the main event, I don't think I would, complain. I think this is very main event worthy. But that being said, to who to pick, I keep going back and forth on this. And you might disagree here because I know what you're gonna say, but this is giving me a lot of Dustin Poirier and BSD vibes.
Okay.
I think so. Arman is the heavy favorite. But I think a lot of people are counting out Oliveira a little bit. He's 35 years old, which is something to consider. But I mean, we haven't seen him in the octagon. He's had a lot of time to rest, a lot of time to recover. Came off of a dominant win against Beneil Dariush, which I know also Armand did. But I think this is a much, much, much closer fight than people are going to think. And I'm going to go with Armand here, but I think I'm going to root for Charles.
Oh, no way.
I'm going with Charles. I'm going with Armand, but I think the fan support from Las Vegas for Charles is going to be probably the most noticeable of the night. Mm-hmm. I don't see. I surprisingly, although both of these fighters are best on the ground, I think this is going to stay standing. It's going to be hard to determine who wants to control this fight. I know Oliveira likes to, control his ground and stuff like that, but I don't know. I can't come up with an answer of who would want to shoot first. Although Armand can get a little wild sometimes, throwing strikes to find his shot opportunity. But I don't know. I think the majority of this fight will stay on the feet.
Okay. Got you. I think, well, just looking at, pure stats here with Armand's 1.9 strikes absorbed, 54% defense. In a 75% takedown defense with his 3.4 takedowns on a 40% clip. I think that Armand is going to most definitely shoot first and shoot early. This is a guy who who was the first takedown that Islam Makhachev's ever experienced. This is the first guy to ever take down Islam. That's all he's been doing, pretty much, other than the Dariush fight, of course. But we have, other than the Dariush fight, we have seen his striking, in the Silva fight, in the Alvarez fight, a bunch of the Matt Frevola fight. Like, I think that Armand is going to do something extremely similar to what Islam did against Charles, but instead of like the knockdown, I think, like you mentioned earlier, I think that Armand's going to be a little Habib with it, throw some jabs, throw an overhand right, for Charles to get the block, put his momentum up high, and then Armand's just going to go down. And I think he's going to get a TKO or submission from there. I don't think this is going to be a relatively hard fight for Armand, to be honest. I think this is going to be going to finish within the 3 rounds. Like, Charles might be able to find a hole or to find something on the ground to get a submission win. However, I think Armand is going to, other than that, if he obviously doesn't make a mistake on the ground, that Charles can capitalize off of, I think this is going to be a pretty easy fight for Armand. And I think he's going to get a TKO on the ground, 2nd round. That's just me, though. That's just me. All right. BMF belt. BMF. Gaethje Holloway.
I know I've said this a couple times already, but I also think this has fight of the night written all over it. Yeah. I think this is another fight that is both really, really technical, really skilled, but also very, very big names that people love watching. Okay, so Holloway's moving up to lightweight again. Saw the pictures. He fills out the frame pretty well. He's looking really good. Gaethje, although he has a really, really, really experienced and successful background in wrestling, this isn't going to the ground at all. This is going to stay standing, as most of Gaethje's fights are. And Gaethje actually opened up as a very, very heavy favorite, but as time went on, it started to kind of even out. And although Gaethje is still the favorite, I'm going to go with the underdog, Max Holloway, on this one. I just can't see a world where Holloway stays standing the entire fight. and doesn't not dominate, but doesn't, like win off of strikes. He's known as one of the best boxers in the UFC. He wants to prove that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Gaethje's taking this fight.
No clue.
It's a cool headlining fight. It's a cool, to be a part of UFC 300. But if he truly did want the title, he wouldn't have taken this fight. And I think he is scared of Islam. But
Yep.
I'm going to go with Holloway on this one. I'm going to be rooting for him. What do you think?
I hate that we're agreeing with like almost all of these takes. But I wholeheartely agree with Max Holloway. Eking out. I think he's going to win by decision. I think this fight's going to be very similar to, the fights that he's had with, Yair or, even Arnold Allen. I think Gaethje, he just absorbs way too many strikes, man. I mean, 7.5 strikes absorbed. Gaethje he's not going to knock Holloway out. Holloway has a chin on him. Okay. Like an insane chin. He's not getting knocked out. If Volk couldn't do it, if Poirier couldn't do it, if Arnold Allen couldn't do it, if Yair couldn't do it, Gaethje is for sure not going to be the guy to do this. I don't care what people say about the weight. Holloway looks a lot better than he did when he moved up on a few weeks' notice to Poirier and outstruck Poirier. He only won because Poirier had that takedown in one of the rounds. But Max Holloway looks like a beast. He has a chin. He has 7 strikes landed per minute to Gaethje's 7.5 strikes absorbed. And Holloway's on a 59% clip to Gaethje's 50%. This is 5 rounds, but Holloway's done this plenty of times before. This is going to be, like a 3-2 decision, purely on significant strikes. Give me Holloway. Give me Holloway by decision. I would 1000%, take that if I was so so compelled to. So moving on to the co-main event. I mean, come on, no way you're taking Jan, right? Zero chance.
No, I'm taking Weili.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even need to spend much time. Weili's dominated almost all of her opponents as a champion. When Rose Namajunas is the only person you can lose to in prime Thug Rose days, like you're dominant. You're dominant. Like she's just gonna sit on her through 163 sigs to Lemos. I think it was like almost 300 total significant strikes. Yeah, 296. Weili's gonna absolutely maul Jan.
Yeah.
Pereira Hill, last fight, main event, UFC 300.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is a great main event. I think people were unhappy with it first, but, at first I was very, very, leaning towards Pereira, but, for some reason, after looking at the press, looking at the media, looking at, fan reactions, I think people are discrediting Jamal Hill a little too much.
Okay.
I know he just came off the Achilles injury, and doesn't really have that many notable wins, like beating Glover Teixeira, but I don't know. He's looking good. I mean, if you remember from his podcast when he's wearing the Lions jersey, calling out Alex Pereira, he looks a lot slimmer now. A lot slimmer and more fit now, and that's expected after camp. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Hill is, voiced that he wants to stay standing with Pereira, and that's never a good idea. And if it does stay standing, I think Pereira is going to come out with the win. But it is UFC, it is MMA. I think anything can happen. I think anybody can get caught, but I'm going to lean towards Pereira. I like my odds betting on Pereira, but I think you can go either way.
Yeah, no, I think just because of Jamal Hill's Achilles injury and not taking the proper amount of time to truly recover from that is definitely going to be why I'm taking Pereira with this. It's not the entire reason, obviously, because I think Pereira is a lot better striker, is outclassed a lot more skilled opponents in the striking realm, such as Izzy, Yuri and Strickland. However, I think that Hill isn't going to be able to, absorb the leg kicks of Pereira. At the best strength possible. Like, he might have been able to in 2022 when he was champion at the time before the Achilles injury. But this is going to be just down to who can knock out who the most, the fastest. And I think Pereira is going to be able to set up a left hook with kind of abusing those leg kicks and injuring Hill's leg pretty early. I think he's going to get Hill in a very defensive mindset, and then Pereira is going to just be able to catch him with the left. So just moving on to a few opinions on the fight as a whole. Let's move on to our good guy. Who's your good guy, Rob? Who's the fighter you want to see win the most?
I want to see Aljo win the most. I want to see him get back to where he was. I don't think his last fight is very representative of how he is as a fighter. I want him to be a big name fighter again. I enjoyed watching him against Cejudo. I wish we got to see more of him against O'Malley. He's moving up to featherweight now, so there's new opportunities with that, especially now with the featherweight division being kind of dead.
Yeah.
Ilya wanting to fight, people who shouldn't be wanting to fight. I mean, Volk's coming to the end of his career. I think Movsar's on the up and up. But other than that, I mean, the featherweight division is, not really in good hands. And I think Aljo can, bring a lot to the table in the featherweight division. I think he can be back to where he was. So I got Aljo as my good guy. I want him to win, and I want him to be dominant. And I want him to carry this momentum into a bigger fight.
Yeah, no, that's extremely valid. I'm a huge Aljo fan, huge Ray Longo kind of Longo Serra fan. I think Aljo is one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. Especially, and he probably could have secured that with a win over Sean O'Malley. But for this card, I think, or my good guy, the person I want to see win the most is definitely Alex Pereira. I want him to finally get that first title defense and really take the next step and to transition to one of the biggest names and biggest personalities in the entire company and organization. I think Pereira could be, one of the next huge superstars. Obviously not to like a Conor McGregor level or even a John Jones level, but maybe like, I don't know, like a Stipe level, like a guy that, casuals will know that he's the champion. So I want him to be a champion for a while. And I want him, and I think the first step for that is getting a first title defense over the former champion Jamal Hill. Now who's the guy you want to see lose the most? Who's your bad guy in the 300 card?
Yeah, I gotta say, oh man. Okay, I gotta go. My bad guy. I don't see, it's hard because I don't dislike this fighter. I don't think he kind of fits that bad guy type of role, but I do want to see him lose solely so the other, to see the other person win. It's Jamal Hill.
Okay.
I want Jamal Hill to lose more than anybody. I mean, so many of these fights are toss-ups, and so many of these fights are, fan favorites.
Yeah.
I won't be mad if Oliveira beats Arman. I won't be mad if Gaethje beats Holloway. But I mean, I really do want to see Pereira win. Like you said, I think he can be a dominant champion. I think he brings a lot for the sport. He brings a lot of attention, brings a lot of fandom. And to see somebody like Jamal Hill take the title back, it's kind of, I mean, in my opinion, other than Ilya, I think some of the recent champions we've been getting from these title fights haven't been very, great. I don't like DDP as a champion. I don't like O'Malley as a champion. I want to keep the good champions in place. And if that means Jamal Hill losing, then so be it. So I have him as my bad guy.
Got you. I have Rakic as my bad guy. I just think he's extremely overrated. I don't think he deserves a fight with Yuri. I didn't like him calling Yuri a fake samurai. With Rakic, like, not doing anything since 2022. He doesn't have any personality. He's just a mid guy with a good physique. So Yuri Beta, Yuri's a way better fighter. Yuri's a way better person. He's a bigger personality. I just think that I really want to see Yuri win, and also Rakic has no real future in the UFC as a contender, in my opinion. And I want to see that hype train get derailed as soon as possible. What else? Oh yeah, your favorite fights. So we're gonna do your favorite fight, your least favorite fight, and then the person with the most to win and the person with the most to lose.
Okay. I got my favorite fight being Oliveira and Arman.
Okay.
It makes me happy knowing that one of those guys is going to be in the title picture after this fight. I love both those guys. I think they're both very deserving.
Yeah.
My least favorite fight is 100% the Bo Nickel fight.
Yeah.
I don't think it's deserving to be on UFC 300 at all. I think I would be a little disappointed if it was in the early prelims too, but let alone main event. I think that's straight up disrespectful. I think so many other fighters are more deserving of that spot.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of Bo Nickel. I don't think he's proven himself. I don't really like his personality. I don't think he brings much to the sport. So that's my least favorite fight. Now, fighter with the most to win. I'm gonna go with either Arman or Oliveira. I think the winner of that fight has the most to win. I think they're going to get a title shot against Islam. Both of those are going to be rematches for those guys. They have another shot to prove themselves, get another title shot. I think those two fighters have the most to win. And I think a fighter who has the most to lose is 100% Justin Gaethje.
Okay.
He has put himself in the title picture. People were even talking about an Islam versus Gaethje fight. He finally, even since losing to Habib, getting that title shot that he's been working so hard for, and now he's throwing it away by putting that all on the line against Holloway, and especially to lose to a guy who's not in your division. That's just a pretty bad look. He will not be in the title picture anymore, in my opinion, if he loses this fight to Holloway. I think it's a very unnecessary fight. I think it's only for entertainment. And I think he has the most to lose by far.
Gotcha. No, I completely agree with your favorite and least favorite fight. I also have Charles Arman, just because of I think it's the most aura of the night for sure. And I think that I would like to see either of those guys get a rematch against Islam. But yeah, I mean, Charles Oliveira, if he wins, crowd's gonna be electric. If Arman wins, I'm gonna be extremely hyped. I'm dying for an Arman Islam rematch. Like, I can't wait if that's gonna happen. And then I also think that this fight has the ceiling of a fight similar to Charles and Gaethje. Just like the output in the final result and everything. And I think the floor, the absolutely worst possible situation, is that this fight goes like Charles and Islam, where Charles Oki gets, Charles gets kind of pieced up in the first round and then submitted within round two, and not really. It's just kind of a one-sided fight, but still extremely electric. And then obviously Bo Nickel, Cody Brundage is my least favorite fight. Like, it's just so unnecessary. I mean, Bo Nickel doesn't, like, if he wins, does absolutely nothing. If he loses, it does everything. With his status in the UFC. And I also added on Kayla Harrison and Holly Holm, just for the same kind of reason. Like I mentioned before, I think Kayla Harrison versus Holm is pretty much an identical fight to Nickel and Brundage. Just like, a fight for, someone the UFC wants to be really big, fighting a can on the biggest stage. Like, who cares? I don't care at all if Harrison or Nickel win. Like, who cares? But for my good guy, or not my good guy, my the fighter with the most to win and most to lose, I personally think the fighter with the most to lose is Aljamain. Just because he's going to be unranked in featherweight, probably not going to go down to bantamweight, and he'll be put in like a Kamaru Usman situation at a much younger age, and kind of like much younger experience and pedestal as a champion. He doesn't get the Usman dominant reign, and he's also kind of like stuck between two divisions, losing to a guy who's pretty low ranked. And I just don't want to see that for Aljo, because he's probably going to have to fight, like the 15th ranked featherweight and like be 4 fights out from even conversation of a title shot. And then most to win, I have Max Holloway, just because he's probably he's gonna get a title shot eventually. If he wins the BMF belt, and chooses to stay at the lightweight belt, and then he can kind of reclaim. And then he has obviously the opportunity to win that lightweight belt, especially if Islam decides to move up before that fight gets made or something else happens. With Holloway, with his already big resume, and then adding a win over Gaethje and another lightweight belt victory, he's probably going to move up significantly in the overall GOAT rankings, probably get himself in like the top 20, top 15. So yeah, I think Holloway for sure has the most to win. Although I could definitely see like Charles Oliveira and Arman being there, just because that's an immediate title shot. All right, so to round off, the first episode of the Jumpin Gilly podcast, let's do a random prediction. What do you think? What's a random thing that you think is going to happen at UFC 300?
Random. I think does it have to be realistic?
I mean, not entirely. Like, you can do a realistic and an unrealistic one or something like that.
I mean, shoot. I think Pereira gets TKO'd or knocked out. That's my random prediction.
Okay. Got you. I think that there won't be a decision on the entire card after the Cody Garbrandt or after the Bobby Green and Jim Miller fight. So after the early prelims, I don't think there's going to be a single decision in the entirety of the card. And then also, I think Islam's next fight is going to get announced during the Dana press conference. This is especially so if Charles Arman, gets finished within like the first round. Because if no guy takes any damage, like Islam's probably going to fight them at 302 in Brunswick, New Jersey. So, which that would be sick if that's true, because that's pretty close. So I think that's the only reason they're delaying the Islam fight announcement, is because they want to see how 300 gets played out. So
I have one more prediction.
Yeah,
one more prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I think more underdogs are going to win than favorites on this card.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think that includes early prelims, and main card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with all of the favorites and underdogs, and I think I'm leaning towards the underdog side this night.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, that concludes the first episode of the Jumpin Gilly podcast. We'll see you guys next week. And probably earlier in the week, just for some reactions about the entire card itself, and then also be active on the Twitter account and the YouTube channel. Those videos and posts are going to be starting soon. So thanks for listening. I'll see you guys later.